And if dollars followed relevancy, the New York Times and the Washington Post would probably have all the money these days. No, I think that the reality is that Twitter is now for lack of a better word, normal business. They're growing fine. They expunged a lot of the bright, shiny object money that had flooded into Twitter in 2014 and 15. So now they're just growing normally. But unfortunately, the market has overreacted on the upside, much in the same way they had overreacted on the downside a couple of years ago.
Ed, do you agree that Twitter is a normal business? I mean, what was interesting in Andrew Leff's report, or Citron's report, is that they specifically cited Elon Musk, which was the other big story this week, of course, this past week, using Twitter as his platform to announce that he is exploring going private.
And you're going to defend your new employer now, too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
No, look, Twitter, of course, is incredibly relevant. It's moved markets many, many times, not just with Elon Musk. But I'm with Brian here. It's growing normally. It actually lost monthly active users last quarter. It actually says to expect more losses this current quarter as well. At the same time, profits are up. So it actually booked its biggest profit last quarter. It smells like a value stock more than it does a growth one, even though it's trading at like something like 100 times earnings. Compare that to Facebook, which is trading more like 30 times earnings. And actually, Facebook has sort of more muscle to kind of bring in more ad dollars. They've got video plays as well. So Twitter's absolutely relevant, of course, but it's more of a longer term play here in my book. They're cleaning out the bots. They're getting rid of the bad followers, certainly, which I think is good long term. But in the short term, yeah, it's not a fastly growing thing either.
And I was thinking about this over the weekend when I was reading a story about something the Turkish finance minister said, but the quote they gave was based on a tweet of his. And I thought, Twitter has become such an invaluable communications tool around the world. You almost think it has to become a utility now, rather than just a for-profit business. If Twitter goes under, somebody else will step up and do the same thing here, don't you think?
No, I absolutely right. It's actually been incredibly valuable to us reporters as well. I mean, people are putting out statements on Twitter. It's relatively easy to pull from those to create our stories. I think longer term, yes, it's something, whether Twitter exists or not, it will exist. Again, it has a much more hardcore user base. It's not a widespread thing the way that Facebook is. So I think that's the issue. Is it really just ultimately a big niche play versus a mass play?
Brian, we had Ann Winblad on several years ago on Squawk Box, famed VC investor. She said back then, Twitter's not a company, it's a product. And I've always thought this should be part of something else. It just isn't standalone. Do you think it ever gets taken over?
I think, at the right price, it could be. Go back a couple of years ago when they were actively, supposedly, in serious conversations to sell possibly to Disney and possibly to Salesforce. I actually could see it as if you think of Twitter as a broadcast medium, which it is much more that than it is a social network. And you think about, again, take the Disney example, or take a Fox, or take any kind of large news entity that has news gathering capabilities. And you think about what Twitter means for news and for sports. Yeah, I could imagine a situation where someone would say, if I'm Disney, buy it and don't worry about the fact that NBC and others wouldn't want to use it as much. That might be fine. That would work at a certain price, but not where it's trading now. And so you really have to just think of it as a standalone business. And it has become more of a business, a mature one. Zuckerberg apocryphally called it the clown car that fell into a gold mine. Well, the clown car has gotten a little bit more sophisticated. The gold mine maybe wasn't quite so robust, but it's a decent vehicle and a decent sieve of metal.